Hello, ladies and gents. Hagbard Celine here, doing another video on feminism. This one was actually a fan request from a fan whose name I'm going to butcher now, named Notrich or Noatrich. It's kind of hard to say. Um, Either way, I appreciate his input, and I'm more than happy to do a debunk video on the gender wage gap. However, while looking for that, I also found this, so I am going to intersperse some actual arguments along with this poor soul's non-arguments. It's really amazing the things that she says, and that she's actually doing it for a college class. This is considered an assignment in gender studies, is to do like a fake viral video where you talk about something that affects the gender issues. And sadly, she's also a native Floridian. As I was born in Florida, but luckily my family moved there when they were in their late 20s, had me, and then we left before I left my middle 20s. So I'm just going to have to abandon that portion of my life as lost because Florida is a pit. And I think this woman exemplifies that. And she also has some, well, regressive views on homosexuality, which is ironic for a feminist, but not really considering they're committing gay misogyny, according to some. Here we go.
Greetings, classmates. Greetings, Professor Gillett. This is my week 4, task number 2 assignment.
Gender studies homework must be so hard.
I am doing my viral video on none other than the wage gap between sexes.
First of all, I sincerely doubt it will be a viral video. It's just a video you're putting onto a medium in which occasionally those go viral. I'm not sure if you're making that mistake or the professor is. And secondarily, you're attacking the wage gap between genders, which you're going to go about it all wrong. It's going to be hilarious.
Between genders, between males and females in the United States of America. These United States, the land of opportunity.
Brace yourself for a little bit more of that rhetoric in the future. She says some weird stuff, guys.
It's unfair, I believe, that women have a lower pay rate with skills, education, and experience in their forefront than men.
First, to steal from Teal Deer, citation needed. You show me one study where a woman with the same qualifications, experience, etc. at all of a man puts in a resume and makes less money than a man who's working the same position. Because she's got a lawsuit, and there are some lawyers that would like to hear from her. And secondly, in their forefront makes my head hurt.
I believe that it's a sexist and a prejudice and a discriminatory thing for um, employees to be paid less than men. Um, I believe that justice should be served. It's an economic issue. Women have families just like men do, and there's a lot of people in my community. As you can see, I'm African American. There's a lot of women in my community that are struggling to pay bills and finance their children's education because they have a lower pay rate than men.
It's also a particular issue in your community because there aren't a whole lot of two-income households in your community. Um, but beyond that, there's more to that gap than anything else. There, I mean, what degree are you going for that you're making this video? What exactly do you expect to do with that degree? Do you think you're actually learning anything that'll make you a good deal of money, or do you think you're getting a gender studies degree? Do you think that's responsible for someone who's a parent? Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you think maybe you should have gone to a trade school and learned something functional and been a female plumber? Plumbers make a ton of money. But that's not what women do. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to read you some statistics. Okay.
To correct her before we get started, she's going to wildly misread some statistics. It's going to be fun.
It says, did you know that in 2014, women working full time in the United States typically were paid just 79%? 79%, you guys, of what men were paid, a gap of 21%. The gap has narrowed since the 1970s, due largely to women's progress in education and workforce participation, to men's wages rising at a slower rate. But progress has stalled in recent years, and the pay gap does not appear likely to go away on its own.
Yes, yes, dear, we all know the history of the women's rights movement upon which women finally decided to also enter into economic servitude under our corporate overlords. However, I do think that you're misunderstanding something here. You say that it's because of all of the progress women have made, and I'll concede that. It is because of the progress that the women's rights movement has made, but now that it's stagnated, what are your plans? I mean, really, what is the alternative? What do we do now? And I do think it's rather interesting you glazed over the portion of the program where they said that men's wages haven't risen almost at all in a while.
Wow, what a gap. 79% against men and women. That was in 2014.
Wait, what? You think the gap is 79%? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you think the gap is 79%, not the 21%, which is even an exaggeration of reality?
I think that's so unfair. That's over half. 50% is half. 79% is in the upper percentile. And I think it's just really unfair. So
I think maybe your college should have mandated a statistics course before you started a gender studies course.
it's crazy. I did a little research on my own. I wanted to see, since I'm a native Floridian, what was the pay scale from towards men and women ratio in Florida. For men and women in Florida, the ratio was 40,971 for men in Florida, and for Florida women, 34,768. That's an 85% earnings ratio. Unfair again in the 80 high marks.
I really think she doesn't understand this. I really think that she thinks that the higher the number is, the worse it is. Whereas in reality, in Florida, the economic disparity between the sexes was incredibly low because almost everybody's relegated to service industries. You're a cook, you're a bartender, etc., etc. I mean, there are call center jobs. There's no manufacturing. There's no tech industry. I mean, there's small portions of Miami that make a good amount of money and small portions of Orlando that make a good amount of money. The rest of it's agricultural land and service industry jobs. So yeah, of course the economic distribution in Florida is lesser, but she reacts to the number 85 as though it's worse somehow. I don't I don't understand this person.
For men in Georgia, since live in Georgia, I was interested in knowing what the pay rate was. It says for men in Georgia, 44,623, and women in Georgia, 36,468, 82%. This is just totally unfair.
See, technically that was worse than Florida and she had a lesser reaction. It's really weird.
It also says the pay gap affects women from all backgrounds at all ages and of all levels of educational achievement, although earnings in the gap vary depending on a woman's individual situation. As you can see, again, totally unfair. Depending on a woman's individual situation, like what is that supposed to mean?
It means everybody faces different situations in their life and that those situations can have an effect on one's income. As in, there are some women that are multimillionaires, and there are some women that are homeless. Although it is interesting that the distribution of men in high end business positions and the distribution of men that are homeless are rather similar. It's like we hold both ends of the scale there. But I have a feeling you're going to find a way to take offense to that statement somehow.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, in my community and other women's communities and other women's backgrounds, there's a lot of single women out there. The men are either locked up, they're dead, they're homosexuals, they're not a heterosexual.
Wait, are you blaming the rise of single parent households, specifically single mother households in the black community and quote unquote other communities like that? You're blaming that on homosexuality? That's weird, lady. That's just weird.
And that's a spiritual issue that I'm not going to get into, but it's just unfair to the woman who works, who has the skill set,
Like the valuable skill set taught to you in an intersectional feminism course, of course.
who has people skills, who has high and stellar communication skills, who has great transcriptive and writing skills, who has the educational expertise with degrees and certificates on her belt.
So, a woman like you who has high levels of communication skills and the ability to read and write, you're impressed by that? Do you not see the problem, dear? Do you not see how low your expectations have become? That's not good. Why aren't you an engineer? Why aren't you a scientist? Why aren't you doing something besides this?
and has maybe 5 to 10 years experience, and then the man comes in and she wants to have a $50,000 annual rate of pay, and the man is demanding a $70,000 rate of pay because he has 5 years experience and she has 10 years experience. So as an employer, what do?
And she has revealed one of the key economic holes in the feminist theory here. If women were applying to the same jobs and willing to work for $50,000 in a position where a man would demand $70,000, why would a business not make that decision? That's just smart economics. Even if the employee is a little bit more difficult to work with, it would economically work out. So then why hasn't it? Why aren't many, many more women entering the workforce? It just economically makes no sense, which proves to me you have no idea how economics works, which is why people in women's theory or gender studies or whatever they want to call the course in that particular institution don't understand and prove time and time again they don't understand how free market works. And I'm not a big proponent of just open free markets, but you're asking for literal preferable treatment just for your genitals, and I have a problem with that.
You pick the man or do you pick the emotional woman? And I can say that for my own personal, how can I say, from my own personal inference, I am a woman and I am emotional, but I know how to keep my emotions subject to myself. I know how to keep them in control, in other words. You understand what I'm saying? It's like I'm analyzing it from the fact of just a fair standpoint. I feel like it should be an equal, diverse rate of pay for all different backgrounds.
She almost sounds like she's just advocating for random pay. Like it doesn't matter what the job is, it doesn't, just throw the pay around so we can be sure. I don't even know what she thinks she's advocating for. It doesn't make any sense. She's just diverse rate of pay. What the fuck are you talking about? You're just throwing out buzzwords like diverse and shit. It doesn't mean anything.
I mean, of course, the employer will more than likely pick and choose the man over the woman. But what is the reason for that? Because it's like a discriminatory, like I said, sexist or prejudiced thing to do. I just don't think it's fair that the man would get chosen because he wants a $70,000 annual rate of pay, and then the woman says 50,000, and the man only has 5 years experience, but the woman has 10 years experience.
Your own thought experiment makes no sense whatsoever. No employer would behave the way that you are describing an employer to behave ever. It's not a thing. Asking for less pay with more experience would absolutely get you fucking hired. It doesn't matter any other qualification issues. It would absolutely get you hired. Male, female, black, white, Eskimo, doesn't fucking matter. You're being stupid. You're just being stupid. You're being willfully fucking stupid. And your video is called Economic Justice, as though you have any idea what economics is, and you clearly have a twisted and warped view of the concept of justice.
Doesn't experience matter? Just something to think about. Lastly, it says among full-time workers in 2014, Hispanic, African American, American Indian, and Native Hawaiian women had lower median annual earnings compared with non-Hispanic, white, and Asian American women.
Well, Asian Americans are a minority in America, and they don't experience as much of a wage gap. Why do you think that is? Could it be cultural by any chance?
Well, within racial ethnic groups, African American, Hispanic, American Indian, Native American women experienced a smaller gender pay gap compared with men in the same group that than did non-Hispanic, white, and Asian American women.
So then technically white women and Asian women are more oppressed than black women, Hispanic women, and Pacific Islanders? I don't really know what point you're trying to make here. The oppression Olympics is getting confusing, guys. Really it is.
It's just something to think about, you guys. I really believe that if women were to come together and maybe do like a class action lawsuit or
Not really necessary. Have you heard of the Equal Pay Act of 1963 by any chance?
have some type of, how can I say, some women's support group
There are tons of women's support groups, and feminism is one of them. You're taking a gender studies course. What is it if not a women's support group?
and have some activism because that's our rights within the Constitution.
Just go to a fucking slut walk sometime and see your rights in action, dear.
The right to the press, get voice on a a community level, like a city level, then go to a state level, and then go to a regional, and then furthermore to a national and international level.
Well, first and foremost, that sounds like a creepy political takeover movement, but excusing the fact that you clearly don't know that, let me guess, you're about to take this to the international level, i.e., third world feminism, which has fuck all to do with what you're talking about right now.
I mean, this is just probably happening in third world countries where women are overlooked, and in third world countries, as we know, women are definitely like in a sense just slaves. I hate to say it like that.
You mean they're actually oppressed, as opposed to not oppressed but feel kind of weird sometimes, or whatever whatever the fuck Western feminism considers oppression. A guy looked at me, a guy didn't look at me, a guy whistled at me on the street. Guys don't whistle at me on the street anymore because of my age. I'm allowed to be sexual. I shouldn't want to be sexual. Whatever the fuck backward shit you guys are preaching today.
You understand what I'm saying? The man goes out and he produces the fruit of his labor and brings in the necessary currency and income to support his family. In America, it's different now. Sometimes there are stay-at-home dads that, you know what I'm saying, are at home and working with their children to better their children and allow the woman to do her dream job, but the woman is still getting a lower pay rate.
First and foremost, the concept of a stay-at-home dad pretty much destroys the concept of like patriarchy or male supremacist roles or gender roles being enforced in our society. And it's a norm. I know a lot of stay-at-home dads. They're not an unusual fucking breed anymore, if you will. And the concept that their wives are making functionally less than their male counterparts is laughable, and the positions in which women are capable of taking for this to be the case. Now, when you look at the overall study and you see that many of these single income or single parent households that are female are working minimum wage jobs. Now, see, when that statistic is revealed, you realize, oh, that's where the gap comes from. The gap comes from a lot of undereducated people working low income jobs. Now, that's a community issue, and we need to deal with that on a community level. But simply saying women are oppressed because of this number it's a joke.
It's not fair. Women have to work twice as hard as men. And I know you're probably wondering, well, a woman is emotional, Crystal. And you're probably saying to yourself, a woman has a menstrual cycle and she can't do as much as a man when she's on her menses and she's flowing heavy in the job. And because she's flowing heavy, she decides to pop out at the coworker that is a man. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. That's true. That's a way to analyze it from that standpoint.
That's true. So when women are on their menses, they're just animals. They're just so the 14th century banish her to the woods until it stops was just men trying to protect themselves. I mean, I don't. What kind of aggressive bullshit are you spouting now?
But why not help a woman out that is single? Or help a woman out that does have a dream?
Well, at least she's just straight out begging for it, as opposed to saying that it's because women are strong. She's legit saying women are weak, help us. Wow. Feminism.
People don't look at it like that. Employers want to make money. And as long as you are an investment to them, as long as you are a human resource to them, they will overwork you as a woman.
But not as a man, because men can't possibly be overworked, can we? We're actually automatonic robots in secret. We're not used as human resource slaves either, are we, dear? No, just women are overworked. What the fuck are you on about?
And I feel that it's discriminatory and unfair.
I agree. You singling out women to say that employers overwork them is discriminatory and unfair.
I think that a great media strategy would be for us to band together, do women support groups, and start at a community level, expand to a regional level or state level, and then take it all the way to the nations, all the way to the White House.
Whatever the fuck that means.
This concludes my week 4 task 2 assignment, which is economic justice for the gender gap between women and men. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.
No, really, dear, thank you. Thank you for revealing exactly how fucked up our college system has gotten. Thank you for revealing how useless a women's studies major is. Thank you for revealing how absolutely backwards and preposterous this concept of education you think you're receiving is. This is ridiculous. This is the silliest, stupidest thing I think I've ever seen a college class make somebody do, ever. This is sad. This is sad, and it shows the state of education in my country. And if it feels like I got angry during this, it's because I fucking did. I'm not angry at her. She's an ignorant person. She's clearly not a genius. She's clearly probably rocking about an 85 IQ. It's just a fact. She's clearly punching at about an 85. Now, I'm not mad at her. I'm mad that she's in college. I'm mad that she is in a higher learning institute, quote unquote, learning things, even though she's not learning shit. She's not learning anything positive. She's not helping society. She's sitting around and whinging about things she doesn't even understand. It's called economic justice. You don't understand economics. You don't know the definition of the concept of justice. Why are you making this video? Jesus Christ. But hey, thanks, Noatrich or Noatrich, or I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, and we've only communicated through text, so it's impossible for me to know. But yeah, hey man, thanks. I appreciate the support, and shoot me any other requests you have, and I'll do them because I've got fuck all else to do. All right, you guys take it easy out there, and I will catch up on Wednesday.